What's going on, everybody? And welcome to our Coffee and Tea podcast. Hope you guys out there in social media land can hear me and see me. I am so excited. I think I'm excited every show, but I'm always excited when I can have good ladies driven conversation. And tonight is going to be one of those nights. If you were with us 2 weeks ago, you heard the husbands get a chance to talk and express themselves just about the relationship, the role of being a husband, and all that entails with being that. So, in the spirit of that conversation, we had to get the life of a wife unplugged to be able to have that conversation as well. I think society would have us to believe that marriage is the end goal. But in all actuality, marriage is just the beginning. A lot of people strive very much towards having, like this big wedding because they waited so long. And after the wedding, they tend to not have a good set of skills to take into the relationship. And what we have talked about in the past, what others have talked about in the past, is that sometimes people lose identities. You start overly compromising and things like that. So it's good to have these conversations from both the male and the female perspective. And today we're going to have a conversation from the perspective of a wife. And I am super excited to have my guest on this evening. And we're going to go ahead and bring in the ladies. Hey, ladies, how we
Hey!
doing? Good.
Woo! Running for our lives.
I know. We are here, we are live. It is all the way what it's gonna be. So for my followers and those that are watching, this is Viva Gross, who you will remember from a previous show that we had with her and her husband Kevin on there. And then she goes by Tiffany, but I was introduced to her via her social media page. So she's Ann to me, but whatever you are going by, whatever you like to be called, that's what we just gonna go by. So thank you, ladies, again for joining me for the show.
No problem.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for signing on. And we got a good friend of ours out there, one half of the dynamic duo that is the Husband's Lounge, Mr. Pratt. Thank you for joining us. So ladies, I know I did a horrible job at introducing you. So if you could tell the viewers just a little bit about you and how long you've been married.
Okay, I'll start. My name is Viva Bruce. I've been married for 9 years, been with my husband on and off for 20 plus.
And
Ooh,
that's
no,
including the time that you've been married or 20 on top of the nine?
20 on top of the nine.
Yeah,
Sheesh.
Ah!
on top of the nine.
Okay. All right. I learned something new today.
Yeah. I know. Listen. This is a long haul. This is a long haul right here.
Yeah.
Ooh, so my name is Tiffany Keys Jackson. Yes, social media does know me as Ann Keys. I know a lot of Tiffany's. My God. So that's why I am Ann Keys. It's part of my government. I've been married for 10 years.
Okay.
And I actually, it's kind of unique because I have known my husband through other arenas probably for, oh gosh, probably like 12 to 15 years. And just being in the same circle, having the same friends, just
Okay.
so this is definitely different.
Okay. All right. Well, y'all got longevity in there, so that's what we talking about, and that's what's good because you see a lot of people, especially in this newer generation of folks, that go into marriage with an exit plan already, and the longevity is just not a thought process. So it's good to know that there are still marriages out there that have endured test and trial and time. So Thank you, ladies, for bringing your wisdom to the show this evening.
It's ongoing.
Yeah, it's ongoing, like my sister.
So
And
let's.
that's the funny thing about it. We're Me and Tiffany are best friends, but we call each other sisters. We've known each other for, let's see, huh, 20 plus,
Yeah,
about
Okay.
30, at least 30
close to
years.
it. Yep.
At least
So
30 years.
did you guys go to school together? Were you just
No.
in
No.
like the same
And
circle?
funny thing, funny thing about that is, I went to a church that one of our older sisters went
Mhm.
to,
Yep.
and she came to visit, and we stuck like glue since then.
Since then.
Okay. So you two have been a part of not only each other's lives, but you've been integral parts of each other's relationships because
Yeah.
you all have been with your significant others for quite a long time. And
Yeah.
then within that, your friendship has grown and blossomed to the point where you can look at each other as not just friends, but sisters as well.
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
So let's go ahead and start from that aspect. A lot of individuals believe that when you get married that you lose a lot of your single circle, and with you guys being married so long, um, one of you probably was married before the other one, so
Yes.
one person was single and then one person was married. So how did you all navigate your friendship in that respect?
Me personally, because I was the one that is married a year less than my sister, um, I would say that we still had our times where it was still sister
Mhm.
time.
Mhm. Balance is important. I say that, when you become married, some things you just don't you just don't do. Some people say, "Well, I'm just gonna live my life." I'm still who I am. I still have my friends,
I
but
still had that to this day with
right,
certain friends.
right, and it has to be boundaries. Boundaries have to be set. Some things I can't go to the strip club. I don't go to the strip club, but I'm just saying, like, I can't go to the strip club like I did, when I was single because
Mm-hmm.
I'm married. I'm not myself. I don't belong to myself, if
Mm-hmm.
you understand what I'm saying. So certain things you just can't do anymore. And I do have single friends, but I differentiate and they understand my viewpoint, where I stand, and certain things I will allow, certain things I won't allow. I don't like, oh yeah, he's sexy. Mm, sorry, I just stop right there. Because that's like a fine line,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But they have to be able to respect that too.
Yeah, matter of fact, I actually had a coworker ask me just the other day, how does your husband feel you getting hugs from some of your male coworkers?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, my husband understand because I know on the other hand, he gets hugs from some of his female coworkers. My coworkers know that I'm married. They better know. They better know because otherwise it's going to be a problem.
Well, and in the same way with like your single female friends, like I'm sure there are certain conversations that you would have, had with your female friends in the dating phase, but now that you're married, there I'm quite sure certain conversations that you don't have with
Oh,
your single
absolutely.
friends.
Absolutely. We're not talking about how good he is in the bed, because that's crass.
Nope.
Nope, nope, nope.
I'll cut it off quick.
Cut it off quick, because once you start putting information, and that's intimate information you putting out there, so they start thinking that, like, oh my gosh, so if she describing how he is in bed, let me go see, test the waters, to see if he would bite if I threw, myself at him. No,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Nope, not at all.
I don't, and for their people, I don't even want. Don't. No, thank you.
I'll walk away.
You got that right. No,
Walk
thank you.
away, hang up the phone.
She's like, I don't even want to have these conversations at all about it.
No, nah.
No.
Walk.
No, 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 no.
No. Nah.
If you talk about building a relationship, hey, we can have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But
Do you guys find yourselves with your single friends, like, do you find that they come to ask you advice about dating and relationships, or do y'all kind of steer clear of those conversations, like with your single friends?
A couple a couple weeks ago.
I'm just pulling out all the
No.
examples, man.
No, here's the thing. I feel I have a coworker that came to me and was telling me problems that her and her boyfriend was having. And granted, my coworker is older than me. You see her, you would think she's a whole lot younger than me. But all I could do was listen. And I told her I can't give you too much advice because I'm married. Everybody's relationship is different. Like my relationship is different from my sister's.
right.
Okay.
I guess
So
so. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
You
Oh,
know.
oh, okay. So I guess the conversations have been, in the sense of, well, I'm dealing with X, Y, and Z. Not saying, well, how you deal with X, Y, and Z. Like, for example, I have a friend of mine, and they're dealing with a person that has a lot going on, and so they haven't been married, but I'm talking about the other person, but they've been in a serious relationship. So I said, okay, well, they've been in a serious relationship. They're ready to move, but they feel like the other person is not. I said, so have you defined like what your situation is? You know,
Mm-hmm.
is he saying that it's just a casual situation and you're seeing it more than, you know, seeing it more than what it is? Y'all have to sit down and talk about that, because if you don't talk about that, then that's where the friction is going to come in. That's where the conflict is going to come in. That communication is vital. If
Mm-hmm.
you're not solidifying what type of relationship it is from jump, then that's when you have the conflict. That's when you have the fighting coming in. If you come in the door saying, hey, look, this is a casual situation, okay. Now I don't promote casual. I'm just saying,
Right.
if it's a casual situation, then we're going to treat it as a casual situation. We're not going to bring relationship into casual, because that's where it starts conflict,
Mm-hmm.
and then your feelings don't get hurt.
It's very true. So,
Otherwise, you got drama. You want to bust out people windows. You want to like star 69. Like you want to go all the way left,
is Star
like to the
69
right, to
even a
the
thing
left.
still?
Yeah, like I bust the windshield out his car. Like slashing tires. Showing up. That's when it gets kind of a little crazy.
Yeah. So let's talk about that transition. You stated, like, when we first came in, how as a married person you're not your own anymore. You know, as we in the faith-based world, we belong to our spouse. And sometimes people tend to have a struggle with submission and all of those types of things. He gets on my nerves. Uh, that's that's Viva's husband, everybody.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm sorry. Don't mind him, y'all. Please don't mind him.
You're right. They don't know.
yeah, this
What are they older millennium?
yeah, yeah, the older millennial.
Only know what
Um,
that is.
so
Right.
you tend to have to deal with like the struggle of your identity. Like some people tend to lose themselves. So how did you balance your personal identity with the roles and responsibilities of becoming a wife? Because being a single woman, there are roles and responsibilities that you have. And now as a married person, since y'all been married a long time, can you think back to when y'all first got married? How did you guys deal with those issues and transitions?
You want to rock that? Wow. All right. So for me, it's kind of unique because this is my second marriage.
Okay.
So so with that, being said, I'm going all the way back. So looking at the role and just kind of going in, not putting all that out there, but I'm being transparent. But how I grew up was a little bit different. It was untraditional
Hmm.
per se. So my view on marriage is very strong. Like that union, that stability, is like that's a lifeline. So that
Lock and
was.
key.
Oh yeah, lock
Lock
and
and key.
key. It's not like let me go in, like let me stay in about 25 years and then I'm done. No, thank you. No, for life, with for life.
Hmm.
So with that being said, I'm like, okay, let me make sure I know who I am first before I be like, for life. So I really did a lot of soul searching before I got married the first time. It was a lot of things that I dealt with individually, like hurt growing up, just seeing who I was. It was some things that I was literally adapting from family members. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not my personality.
Hmm.
So let's check this. Like I was dealing with temper issues. I was dealing with self-esteem issues. And the one thing that I didn't want all of that stuff that I was dealing with to go into my marriage. Because I knew definitely if I didn't deal with it, then it would have been the issues centered around within my marriage.
Hmm.
You know, so looking at myself, you are Tiffany and Keys. That's who you are. That's your identity. What do you like? I like walks in the park. I like, I love fall. I love being eclectic. That's who I am. I have to be me first before, right. I have to be me first before I can be the wife, before I can be the mother, anything else. Teacher, elder, I am Tiffany and Keys. So Jack, I know Jack. But at that time that's who I was. And I had to zero in and even go in deeper and forgive myself, for adapting other people's garbage,
Mm,
you know,
that's a good one.
their tactics, like taking on.
Yeah, and granted, yeah, I've been married for a long time. Yes, this is my first marriage and will be my only. My only.
Mr. Gross, I hope you heard that.
He heard that. He heard that.
I'm still learning certain things because like my sister said, our relationship with our families, different families, are similar. So I adapted to certain things that my grandparents, my aunts, my older sister, some of my older cousins did. And slowly but surely, I'm learning to back away from it.
Hmm.
Yes, it's taking me some time, but I'm slowly but surely learning how to back away from
I'm, this is my last part. We know that's right. Get to tell you,
You better say that. Okay, what you guys hit on like a really good point too, and I wonder if you guys have like a moment where you realize that being a wife came with like some unexpected challenges. Because again, we're talking about transitioning from, being a single individual with your single mindset. And then, though you dated the person, though you may have known the person for a long period of time, dating an individual and being conjoined to an individual brings a whole nother set of challenges, because when you're in your single phase and dating, if you get into an argument, you can run to your place, they can run to theirs, and you have space to breathe. When you're married, like, y'all live in the same house, sleep in the same bed, eat the same food. So there's a little bit of challenges that come along with that. And being a wife, I'm sure there's ways that you have to deal with those challenges. So can you guys share a moment where you realized that being a wife came with an unexpected challenge? And then what was that experience like for you?
it. No, it's the reason why I'm saying you can go first because you already know with me.
Wow. So the very first time, and I'll speak from first and second. So the very first time, whew, my. When you have when you have difference of opinion, or you have a different way of rearing, from your in-laws, and challenge, huge challenge, because one, generational, and then two, personality.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first challenge I faced, and I said, "Ooh, tough," you know. And I can say that situation was a ram in the bush, and I just put it like that. God rest his soul. So, because he is deceased. Okay. So even with that being said, I had to one remember, Tiff, you gotta understand where they're coming from and how you grew up and who you are. You know, it's okay to agree, disagree,
Mm-hmm.
but in that situation, I had to stand my ground. You know, you may not have liked how I named my child, but at the end of the day, God is not going to come to you about my child. He's going
Fact.
to come to me because he charged me. So that's one. And then two, you know, being respectful and not being disrespectful. Hey, this is our situation. This is our marriage. You can't dictate what goes on in our marriage. Just like we can't dictate, and I'm talking about, you know, from my perspective with, you know, my late ex at the time. We can't, mm-mm, we can't dictate what's going on in your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So we can. I learned how to take advice, but at the end of the day, I said, okay, thank you for the advice, but this is how we're going to deal with this situation, or I'll take it into consideration. And that's when I said I had to stand my ground of not just who I am, but the wife I was in that moment.
Mm.
In that moment, because I was a different Tiffany at that time. I was a different wife at that time. And it was a different situation. So when I came into my new situation, All right. You can't bring old into new. And that's what that process, and that wasn't even just with me, but it was with my other half. You can't bring old into new. So I said, this clean slate. I've been through, you've been through. We had here, we had there. So we need to solidify how are we going to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of conversation, but then there was a lot of soul searching, you know. And see, I'm the type, I don't want to hear, well, if this situation ain't work, no, we're going to make this situation work
That's right.
in Jesus' name, okay? All right. Oh my God. Okay.
Me, me on the other hand, since this is my only marriage, I know, but since this is my only marriage, I basically was a wife without being a wife before we actually got married, due to the fact of situations happen with my family, and my husband stepped in and asked his mother, could I come and stay?
Okay.
Granted, his mother thought it was only for a weekend.
And it ended up being how long?
Years.
Okay. All
It,
right.
it
It's
became
all good.
it became years.
Jesus. Yeah.
It became years. So I learned from looking at the way my grandparents treated one another. Because yes, my grandparents raised me. Yes, I knew my parents. But that's the marriage I looked at.
Mm-hmm.
Then both of my aunts, they both were married. But all I remember is seeing one of my uncles come and go at times and always arguing with my aunt. Now, my other aunt, I never got to meet my uncle. He passed before I was born.
Okay.
Now, when I went to live with my husband at that time, boyfriend, I saw the relationship that his parents had. So I was getting bits and pieces from basically my grandparents, what I wanted from my grandparents' marriage, and what I did not want from my aunt's marriage, and what I wanted from my in laws' marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Then also, I took bits and pieces from one of my brother in law's marriages as well. And I'm still in.
Well, yeah, and because you aren't the same person that you were 2 years ago. You aren't the same person that you were 5 years ago, and this person that you are today won't be the person that you'll be 5 years from now. So as you evolve, your relationship evolves. So what you see in other relationships that you cherish evolves as well. So yeah, you'll always kind of continue to do that. And I think we all do that, whether single or married. There are relationships and individuals, certain aspects of people that we try to strive to be or to carry within ourselves as we develop into other individuals or other iterations of ourselves. And I think that's what makes relationships interesting,
Right.
because I know my pastors have said it, and some of the folks that are out there watching have said it too, that your relationship evolves with you.
It does.
You aren't the same person that they married 20 years ago. So, evolution has to continue to happen. And I think when we think of marriages, we hear a lot about the negative and, the divorce rate and how marriage is hard and, all of these types of things. But let's take a page on the sweeter side of it. And let me ask you guys, what are like the most rewarding aspects of being a wife that you didn't anticipate before getting married? Like we hope, we hope in our single
Living home.
phase,
Yeah.
we pray and we hope in our single phase, that our sex lives are great, that the spouse makes a certain amount of money, that we live a certain lifestyle, that when we have kids, whether we had them before we got married or if we have them when we get married, that our kids are well behaved and have these great lives based on what we're able to provide for them as a family. But those are the things that we always think about. When you actually get into the relationship, there's things you never thought about. So I'm sure the good and the bad. So again, talk to me about some rewards of being a wife that you didn't anticipate before you got married.
I'm thinking.
She
Look,
thinking.
like I
Come on now,
said,
you gotta
no,
give us single people some hope out here. Come on.
Listen,
no, that's not. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like I said in the previous question, I was a wife without being a wife before we actually got married because we lived together before we actually got married. So the rewards were semi the same to me
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because we still went out when we had the money because we granted we did become parents at a young age. We still went out when we had the money. We still go out now when we have the money because we have extra bills. It be times where I am dead tired and I will try my best to stay up and watch something with him. Granted, I will fall asleep after a while, but he will see that I did try. And it's the same thing with him. That shows that I know he ain't gonna want to watch, but he'll watch it with me because he know if I go in that room and I lay down, I'm going to sleep. So I try to stay in the living room.
well, I can share this and kind of listening to my sister. Just hearing your spouse is your friend.
Yeah.
That's the hope. That's one of the rewards of your spouse being your friend. My mom always used to say, and she still say it to today, you know, you must be friends first. And I can truly say he's my friend
Mm-hmm.
for real. Like I can talk to him about anything, you know. We talk to each other about anything, like, anything,
Bad,
everything,
good, in between.
everything. So that's one of the rewards, because it's going to come to a time, and we have faced those times. Hey, sex is hung up. Let's just keep it 100 when you're dealing with health things. Sometimes it's not going to be, all right, yeah, we in it and kiss, and la, 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 la,
This is
la, sometimes it's not always that. It's not always what you see in the movies. No, I mean, I'm just keeping
I
it.
got
You
you.
feel me?
I got
Okay,
you.
it's a keep it 100 moment. It's not all glitters and glamour and movie-fied. It's not. You know, you may have a child that's sick. We've been there. We like, All right, we got, deal with this situation. We're going to the hospital. We're going, all of that. Like, okay, friend mode right here. And okay, friend mode don't move, but we slide it over. All right, lover comes down. You just gotta understand in the situation what role or what part of the relationship is going to be. But
Mm-hmm.
both of y'all have to understand that. But your friend foundation go across the board, cross lover, cross, you
Friend,
know, um,
lover, best
best friend,
friend.
not even more than that, advisor, because sometimes being in a marriage, you have an advisor, you have someone, not just, that best friend, that sounding board, but they're going to give you sound advice. They're not going to leave you hanging. They're not going to sit up there and watch you drown. If you got somebody that's watching you drowning, guess what? They not meant for you. They not your soulmate. And guess what? They not your friend. They need to stage left. I'm just saying. Because pretty much they're hoping for your demise. But when you're in a union, when God fuse y'all together, the word say, what God puts together, let no man put asunder. Okay? So if you're walking by that, God is aligning you up with somebody that is going to tell you when you're doing wrong, but he's going to tell you in love because that's how God does.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
understand?
so you bring up some good points. You bring up the many aspects that individuals play in a relationship. You talked about lover, you talked about friend, you talked about, sometimes having to be like a doctor, when people are sick. What if you could package it in something, what would you say the role of a wife is?
Ooh, the wife sets wow, the wife sets the tone for the family. Period. So if she is sound, if she has sound mind and she know who she is, that means she provides balance for every aspect of the family and the marriage.
Okay.
She is. She is that. God is our foundation, but she is that backbone. She's literally what you consider as when Aaron held up Moses' arms. Well, she is literally standing behind, you know, her spouse, her husband. She's literally standing behind. But she's just not holding him up, but she's actually supporting him. So she's shielding, she's praying, you know. That's what she's doing. And it's so important because you kind of touched on, we touched it, but we didn't touch it. So having that understanding, as we grow individually, we're growing collectively. So you got to be sensitive to how your spouse is growing. If you know they're in one of those, in the meantime stages, that's I like to call it. In the meantime stage where they trying to work out some things. You gotta be sensitive. You can't just go to the like, well, you need to get your life together. No, because then you messing up. You messing up. Was trying to be set up. And she laughing at me, but I'm just saying, you can. And I personally, I can talk about me. I had to learn that. I had to learn that in the second stage. You know, you may mess up where they supposed to be stepping to because you get impatient. You want to hurry up, hurry up. Oh my gosh. Like you get
That's your
tired.
problem.
Yeah, I know. But yeah. And you gotta be sensitive to that. And that's where compromise come in. Compromise.
The balance can be held up by both.
Are you answering your husband's question?
Yes. Bills
Well,
will be held
what
up
in
by
the
both.
husband said to balance of the family. He's the head, but
But
she's
sometimes,
reason.
yeah, sometimes he need help.
She provides wisdom. She's
Yeah,
reason.
sometimes it needs help.
Right.
Okay.
So
And vice versa. But generally, that's the wife is praying.
Okay.
Praying.
So,
And that prayer closes.
so again, we look at generations, we look at you both kind of touched on the generational piece, like how you have taken bits and pieces from other individuals that are of different generations, and how you dealing with in-laws of a different generation, and we have a very different generation's view of what marriage is today. So when you look at how our our next generation and kind of the generation that we're in kind of views marriage and the responsibility and the role of a wife, how would you help somebody navigate the expectations that society places on like wives and being a wife, and how those concepts and thoughts kind of differ from how you viewed yourself as a wife?
Mm. Well, I am seeing some comments on this. I guess it does take both. Now, you have to solidify what that looks like between the two. I can speak for me. Now, this is facts, okay? I just came in. Just came in. He is off today, okay? So, the duty, his duty he picked up. So, for those that said both, here we go. He got dinner, wash clothes. Daughter home, he received her, the whole nine. Okay? When he goes to work, guess what? I'm up. So that means all meals, wash clothes, any errands. That's how that goes. But we solidified that. Now, I have parents and my father's deceased. But my mom, she is from the silent generation. I'm her youngest. Okay. So I saw her make my father's plate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
put it right in front. I am the she had me at 40 Facebook. Okay. All right. So amen.
this is my
Amen.
sister, y'all.
Amen. But what I'm saying is it's gonna be a twist. And I mimic that a little bit, but even still, I make his plate, but guess what? He makes mine. Okay. So I don't feel like it's okay. He might be making mine and his. Well, he like, I don't feel like, okay. I'm making his as mine and mine as well. I love you. Stop laughing. Why are you laughing at me? But anyway, my brother, my lord. Anyway, but that's how it goes. So taking a piece from there and then looking at society, I don't personally, I don't worry about society because at the end of the day, you have to establish all of that, and you have to have an understanding how your spouse grew up. You know, I have made the statement. This is not Heath and Claire. I'm not so and so. I am. Absolutely. Give and take. Absolutely. And it takes a lot of that. But you have to solidify. You have to set that foundation up of what it's going to look like. Society always going to have an expectation. but you can't live society inside your four walls. Can't do it. Can't do it.
Everybody is going to take what they want from a positive relationship. Like I said, I took bits and pieces from my grandparents, my in laws, and what not to take from my aunts.
You know, you got some for I can I'm not gonna raise no man. Well, guess what? If you got BG&E, rent, car payment, and side bill, I'm not gonna raise the money gotta come from somewhere. Like I said, you have to sit down. Communication is key. Everybody say it
Yeah.
takes both. Communication. Put communication is key. If you not communicating and you like, well, you know what? He gonna be paying all my bills,
Then
and
you,
I'm not gonna be a broke.
but then you also gotta look at it
Okay.
in the you gotta also look at it. Okay, he might make more, and she might make whatever she's gonna make.
Right.
So therefore, he might pay the bigger bills. She
Right.
might pay the smaller bills.
Right.
Then it could come to the point where one of them might get sick. So that one person gets sick, it's going to fall on the other person. It could be falling on the person that makes the less. So the person that makes the less have to figure out, okay, my husband or my wife is sick. So that person cannot go to work. So how am I going to pay this, and take care of the kids?
And it's so funny that she pulled that up
It's
because
happened to me.
it happened to her. It happened to me. And on our end, and this was a couple years back after having our youngest. I had developed pancreatitis. I don't drink, I don't smoke, but I always had kind of intestinal issues, and I just put it there. But I wasn't working for like a couple months, and then we end up when I went back to work, I lost my job as a result because by me being sick for a certain amount of time, I didn't meet the expectations. Long story short, we lost our place. You
Wow.
know, and that was real because some people like, you know what, she ain't work. I'm not. And so, we sat down and we literally regrouped and pivoting. Huh. It was a big pivot. But I can truly say God blessed us in that big pivot because we came together. It wasn't time for, oh, well, it's your fault and that. I had literally probably got sick within like almost a year and a half after having our youngest. And I went through a major transition because we're like the Brady Bunch. So between my oldest and our youngest, it's a 7 year gap. So it just my body just broke down, and so even with that, like I said, if we didn't have the conversations and sticking to the game plan, we wouldn't made it. We really wouldn't made it, you
And,
know.
and I think you really do hit a lot on this point that Charles is making about being able to pivot when the other person is down. There's a content creator that I follow on social media, and one of the things that he talks about is the level of communication that you have when you are at the phase where you're thinking about your relationship being a long term commitment, a forever type of commitment. And you talk about these types of things and what those pivot moments look like and how you bounce back from sickness, how you bounce back from losing a job and all of those types of things. To I don't think you ever really know how you're going to respond in a situation. Like, you can always talk hypothetical, but I think you realize where your salt is when you have those conversations, because it lets the other person know how you think and how your thought process is and how you're able to handle when your body changes and you can't do the things that you were doing prior to, or if something major happens. What happens if you would have lost your eyesight, or you would have lost a limb, or you were down for the count, for real, like you couldn't go back to work, or all of those types of things. What does the relationship look like at that point, and what happens in that point? So I think learning how to communicate in those spaces and learning how to pivot is a major thing when you're married. So
Um,
yeah.
I'm seeing a question real quick.
Oh yeah, I saw it. I was gonna go back to it
Yeah.
because it was an interesting question.
Yeah.
So my friend Tony, he
Yeah.
says, can you really not do what you have learned from your elders? Like, that might cause friction, yes or no?
Well, I could talk about it, and it was so funny looking at the questions. My God, and reflecting back. And actually, I'll go back probably the week before last. So in Sunday school, we was looking at Jonah, and I'm not going to get too much technical into it, but um, kind of looking at behaviors and reflecting and kind of not repeating history. So for me, how I grew up, I didn't grow up traditional. So like I said, I value the sanctity of marriage. I really do. And so at one point in my life, I found myself repeating history, Tony, and I'm just putting it out there. At the time in my transition prior to my second marriage, you know, had my daughter. I was with a person, and we weren't married, you know, like and and the conviction hit because I was like, God, Tiff, what you doing? You repeating history. And I'm not talking about just no like 3 or 4 years. I'm talking about all my life. That's what I all my life. So when I looked at my daughter, I said, "Oh my gosh!" It hit me like she may, attempt to. If I don't address this, she may attempt to be like, you know what? I love him, da da da, and we're going to do this thing together, da 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 da. And I'm not judging. I'm just saying for me, because that's what I saw, that's what I grew up, that's what I digest, and it had to die with me. I said I can't do this because she going to think in her mind it's cool, you know. And then when things hit the fan, like, oh, wait a minute, I could just roll out and bounce. And the situation did not continue. And I said, you know what? That's not a good example.
Mm.
So let me do some soul searching again. Lord, can you show me the way? Show me who, you know, where do I go next? Who I'm supposed to be with, you know, so she can get that example. Did it cause friction? Well, listen. I wasn't worried about friction. Okay. I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about what kind of example that I would have to answer to God in regards to my daughter. That's what I was worried about.
Mm.
You know. And and I know that will face with my parents. I know that will, but I said it's going to start with me.
Okay.
Is it causing friction in mine? Now, I don't think so. I don't think it's causing friction in mine at all. If I see it, I know how to stop it. My husband know how to stop it. We just know what to do.
Okay. So since we're on the topic of friction, let's talk about conflict.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Conflict.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
conflict.
talk about conflict. Because again, when as a single person in my dating life, I deal with conflict in a particular way. Like I said before, when you're dating, you get into an argument or you have a disagreement or you get into a fight. And I use air quotes with that because everybody's level of what a fight is very different. You can go to your respective corners. You go to your house, they go to theirs. You cannot talk to each other for a couple of days or a couple hours or what have you, and you cool down and can regroup, or you go to your respective corners and you talk your trash to your friends or the folks that you confide in when you're dealing with your relationship. But in marriage, it can be a little different. So can you talk about a lesson you've learned from conflict or a misunderstanding in your marriage that's helped you grow as a partner? Don't everybody talk at once.
Growing,
I thought you get
just still, we, we always have. I'm not going to say me, but but that can be always friction. It could be the smallest thing that either one of us could see in a marriage.
Okay.
the main thing. Okay.
I'm figure out what Charles is talking about.
Okay. Um.
Uh-huh.
Well. So with that being said, not the same. We're not the same individually. Um. 5 years, ago. So no. So I had to really, really learn to get once you understand how, and when I mean is certain things, certain tones may add. So I learned to be quick to listen, slow to speak of the things I say because I don't want to hurt him. So even if I get angry, I'm pausing of I'm actually saying it. And if I don't agree, I'm like, okay, well, we're going to agree to disagree because we're not.
Mm-hmm.
If you think
You gotta walk away.
your way is always right, that's not reality.
Some
Sometimes your way may be wrong, and that's maturity. Your way may be wrong. Either way, what if you gonna
some walk away to compose
take a
yourself.
pause? Sometimes,
Yeah, sometimes you have to walk away to compose yourself.
right? You have to take a pause because they may not be ready to receive what you're you may be seeing the situation differently from what they're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that that's maturity, you know, and being confident. Hey, at some point, y'all going to come on the same page. That's right. Don't stuff that had to
And it,
die too.
yeah, and this is
That
just in response to when Viva asked Charles, she wanted to know what he meant. And this is what he was talking about. Like the main thing is the main thing. Like whatever is the situation at the moment that we seem to be disagreeing about, that's what we need to be talking about. Don't talk about the fact that I didn't call you, last week because I was out until midnight. Like that's you should have talked about that a week ago. If the issue is, why I spent $150 on a pair of Jordans this week because they was on sale, then let's discuss that at that at that moment. So,
and that's part of that's that's part of you, that situation go. The reason why it comes back up that I can speak from it. Play it and replay it and replay it. And situation you go through, and you may have heard that go through the stages of death, like acceptance, you know, acceptance. You go through anger, back and forth with this. Once you forgive, you forgive, but you're not going to continue to condemn them either, and they should not be condemned. A conflict comes up.
You know, or you think you're going to be over talked, write it if they want to.
and yeah, and I think that too comes in a space where you learn. I think Tiff said this before, where you have to get to learn the person and how they communicate, even in the moments of anger and friction. Because if you didn't know that I got to go away and I got to write it down so that I can get it out, if I give you a piece of paper that's got all of my feelings on it, you might look at me, feel some kind of way about it. So at the end of the day, it all stems back to communication.
It does. You also be cursing, da 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 da. And you're the type of don't curse at me. I be like, wait a minute. I'm gonna tell you next morning. Don't talk to me that I'm about to go to the other side. That I deal with every day. I don't want to do it, Miss Keys Jackson. Wait a minute. Hold up. No, me gonna go to the other side. I'm gonna do 180 real quick. Okay, let's try it again. Same thing. Let's try it again, love. Okay. And communication.
Communication
Very
is
much
the key,
yes.
whether it's by voice or on paper. Because sometimes you can start talking louder, or you can't remember what you wanted to say. But when you walk away, you'll learn, what you wanted to say, so you'll put it on paper.
You're hold on. I think we're having like a technical difficulty on y'all's end. And your better half is trying to fix it. So
Uh,
I'm gonna put y'all backstage for a second so he can come in and save the day, and we'll come back. All right.
no,
So I just kind of wanted to go over some of the comments that we didn't get a chance to see. Charles makes a really good point here where he talks about staying away from individuals who try to tell you how to run your relationship. And I, since I'm not married, I can't really talk from that aspect, but as a person who dates, yeah, people tend to, when you are in a relationship and it's going well, when you talk to them about it, they try to tell you how, oh, well, you should have did it this way, and if I was you, you should have did this. People tend to try to insert themselves into your relationship, and they may not be the happiest for you. They may secretly not be really excited as much as they said on the day that you got married or whatever. So you want to keep running your race and really only talk to. And I think Tiff said this too. You want to talk about or talk to individuals who like are investing in you and your relationship, and really want to see you succeed, not the individuals who don't want you to succeed. Okay, I think we're ready for them. There you go, ladies. We are back. Awesome. Um, I wanted to put this up here too. Um, don't talk to me that way. Why are you yelling? You interrupted me. All of those types of things, and they can be triggering for individuals where you're trying to have the conversation, to be able to get through whatever the conflict is. And the way that we approach the conflict and how we respond to whatever the conflict is can then in turn create more conflict and allow the conflict to continue more than what's necessary. So I think we've all said this several times over, and we've seen it in the comments too, that communication really is key in being able to fight fair. When I was in marriage counseling, when I was getting married, that was one of the things that my pastor talked about, is being able to fight fair. And one of the examples he used was pebbles, rocks, stones, and boulders, and how
Yes.
pebbles and rocks, like when you throw them, like, yeah, pebbles kind of sting, but they don't really hurt.
Right. But you throw
Rocks,
boulders.
yeah, rocks, if you throw them hard enough, a rock can hurt. But if you drop a boulder on me, like, you might kill me. So being able to fight accordingly is how we should respond. We appreciate the technical support in Viva's husband, Mr. Gross over there in the background, saving
Yes.
technical lives
Mhm.
in the world. And I'm gonna use that to be able to transition into this next question. Um, we talk about being, I guess when we talk about marriage, we talk about being the person's better half, quote
Mhm.
unquote.
Right.
Um, and as individuals, before we got married, we had hopes, dreams, aspirations, things that we always wanted to accomplish. And when we get married, some people believe that those things have to change. But if you can think about a moment, or if you can just talk about how you support your spouse and how your spouse supports you in your individual goals and dreams, um, in your marriage as you're maturing in your relationship, because I'm quite sure it was very different in the beginning than it is now. But let's talk a little bit about that. Y'all stop in my comments down here for real. Here come Dan with the shenanigans.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go on that note. I was just running, make sure my sister didn't jump in.
not yet.
So, hubby actually has been working in law enforcement for almost 25 years.
Wow.
He started working literally his first security job when he was like 19, 20. So the year before last, it was a lot of transition. When I say a lot, it was a lot. My father-in-law had passed. A couple health issues came up. Just in general. So it was just a lot. So with that being said, he had to do a lot of soul searching. And as being his wife, I'm like, okay, it was some things that had happened like probably a couple years prior, and I'm like, well, look, we seeing these things, you know. Um, so with seeing these things and experiencing these things, is law enforcement going to be, you know,
That answer?
it's just going to be,
It,
the avenue that you going to be walking down this road, you know. And so when he started to see it, even though we was talking about it, but he had to see it. So he was like, you know what? It's time for me to retire. And it retired for the betterment of him and the family. Now, it was a major shift when, he stepped down. And then when I said he has been on the streets, he has been operations director. I mean, the whole nine. And he was like, you know what? It's time for a rest. And he did. So he ended up um, leaving and going to work at Franklin Square. You know, yeah. So that was like a 180. And he thought at the time he was going to be there, but his mission, was to end up back at the state. So now he's back at the state, but he's actually at the desk. So um, that was a lot of transition. We had to deal with child support. I mean, keep it 100, okay? We are truly like the Brady Bunch. Here's a story. Right. So with that being said, it took for me to humble myself, and still those conversations, still communicating, but I had to see it outside. Basically, I had to see it through God's eyes. I couldn't look at it through Tiff's eyes or Ann's eyes and be like, what the? Okay. I couldn't do that, you know,
I've
and I could,
seen all sides.
right. But I couldn't push it either because that was a decision he had to make and he had to seek out and really be, settle with it. And I had to respect that. Sometimes we get so agitated, with the other person, like, wow, you should have this all together, da 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 da. But you gotta remember, you're constantly changing. You're not the same person. So he was not the same person when I, who I married. It was some things that health wise that I did know of, but it was some health things he didn't even know of until like recently, within the last year and a half. So it was like, okay, now we got to pivot again, you know, and face it and sit down like, okay, now what kind of plan we're going to do? You know, we're going to see God, yes. What He going to give us, and then we're going to follow it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and be satisfied. Whatever state we in, we're going to be satisfied, like genuinely satisfied, not satisfied like all right on the surface, but under, you be like, oh, he get on my, that's not being satisfied. Or she just like, no, that's not being satisfied. No, mm-mm. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing.
Okay.
Me, all I've done since I did start working was retail. So now where I'm at, I've been with the company 9 years. Yeah, I was thinking about leaving because the location I'm at is drama there every day, all day. I was thinking about going to another retail job. Looked into it, talked it over with my husband, and we both we both actually agreed it wasn't going to be a fit for me. Granted, it was closer, but I would have been making a whole lot less and not getting as many as hours as I am now. So, granted, I'm still at where I'm at.
I know.
Time can't be saying stuff off camera.
No, 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 it's not that.
Right.
It's not that. I'm hearing my voice
Yeah.
on his phone. That's what it is.
It's all
And
right.
it's the delay, right?
Yes,
Yes. It's the delay.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You're
It's all
fine. You're
I'm
fine.
so sorry. But like I was saying, is that I'm still at the spot where I really don't want to be, but I still get up every day that I have to go to work just to go and pray every day, all day to myself, stay to myself if drama happens, which, like I said, happens every day, all day at the location I'm at.
Well, I mean, that's life.
Yeah, it's life.
I know. I know.
Very true.
It's
But
life.
about to have a conversation. Let's have a conversation.
It's
So
life. So it's like, okay, uh,
The facts of life.
I, uh, I'm gonna stick it out and prayerfully get a better position, even if it is at the location I'm at.
yeah, and
Because
I think that's
honestly,
the piece.
honestly, uh, my pastor touched on it this past Sunday. She actually prayed over me this past Sunday.
Because what you needed.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Hmm.
And that's the piece. The piece is sometimes we don't get all of the pieces for where we are right now, and
Hmm.
sometimes it's just the faith to stand still in what it is that we're in, and trusting and believing that God's going to pull us to the next phase of where it is that he has for us to go. And I think in relationships we have to take that stance as well. There are times when we may not understand why the money ain't right, or there's always some level of conflict, like the little things just seem to be causing bigger things to happen, or our kids are not responding well or doing well or what have you. And it's just being able to say, okay, God, I don't know what's going on, I don't understand why I'm right here, but I trust and believe that you have everything in your hand, that you have in control all of this. So let me stand still, let me listen, let others pour into me and help me hear you better, so that when it's time for me to move and it's time for me to pivot, that I'm able to do it because I see that it's you, and that it's not me, it's not the company, anything like that. It's you that's moving me as the piece, going forward. So I fully understand what those tears mean, and I think a lot of us can get to understanding that
Thank you,
point and
Lord, for
can,
that.
yes.
He will push you out.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, he will.
Yeah, and I could go on a whole tangent about that. Because
Yeah.
try being pushed out away from home when you don't know nobody and have nobody. But that's a completely different show. So as we're as we're winding down here to the end of our show, let me ask you ladies this. What do you wish more people understood about like the realities of being a wife?
Don't get caught up in the fantasy.
Say that.
Don't get caught up in the fantasy of it. A lot of us get caught up in the fantasy. We see movies and I mean, and we like, yeah, that's I want the white. Used to be back in the day, white picket
The
fence.
white
Wait
picket
a minute,
Mhm.
she
fence.
said white picket fence.
2.5 children.
2.5. Wait a minute, she looked like she just got out of
The
college. I'm
money.
saying that right now because some people probably looking at me like, wait a minute, what she know about the white picket fence?
The money. All
Grab
of it.
hers.
They want it
Right.
all.
That's not the reality. That's not the reality. You make your marriage. God is
It's
the
not a
foundation.
book. It's not
Right.
a book of saying, oh, this is how Viva and Kevin's marriage is going to be. This is not how Tiffany and Victor's marriage is going to be. We learn day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute.
Right. And honestly, I can say this so because he was laughing when I said we've been around each other. We was around each other for some time. We had mutual friends, like mutual. I'm talking about people I grew up. Now we known each other, but I'm talking about like I grew up, went to school. We then shared the same bowl, slept in people. You understand, far as the circle and how we got together, it was nothing but God because and when I say it was nothing but God, it was nothing but God because it wasn't anything that we did, you know. And it's so funny thinking back. It's been almost 20 years, like for real, you know. Seeing each other at school, literally seeing each other at school. Now approached. I'm like, no, sorry, don't do that.
Hmm.
Like we don't do.
He
Oh
had
wait
to
a minute,
do
hold
what?
up, hold up. One of the questions was like, oh, co-workers. I said, no, I don't fraternize. He looked at me like I was crazy. He'll tell you. He was like, she told me no. She told me absolutely because I was in a different place at that time, and I'm the type person. If I'm with you, I'm with you. We don't. Unless it's gonna be my man and or he knows you and we understand the relate. No, we don't. And it literally happened. Both of us had a dream, same dream, and it was crazy. And this is when we went out on our first date. It was literally in 13. But the crazy thing about with this situation, he was like, well, I got something to tell you. I don't know how you want to feel about it. I said, okay, tell me. This is August. Tell me. Well, I don't know. When you ready to tell me, which I already knew what it, when you're ready to tell me, you'll tell me. So that's August. Here comes September, the end of September. I really need to talk to you. Okay, talk to me, homie. Talk to me now.
Not
You got my
homie.
number. Talk to me. Because when you get those memos from the Lord, you like, for real? Stop playing. You joking me for real? That was one of those situations, but I started the dream and he finished it.
Wow.
And that's what, and like I said, you know, some people don't understand that we're not polar opposites. We're not polar opposites, but we are different. So you're like, what? And he be like, but he has his moments. He's like, yeah, okay. So, like I said, you can say I'm more the extrovert and he's an introvert, but he has extrovert tendencies, But it's like I said, it works because God put us together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, me and my husband been married 9 years, on and off for 20. And when we broke up the first time, the very first time, I was like, I'm going to try today. Couldn't, because my mind was set on my husband
Mm-hmm.
the entire time.
I'm laughing because from the conversation we had,
My
it's all
sister,
right.
my sister can tell you. My sister can tell you.
Right, I know. More than once our conversation. You got that right.
We've been I've been engaged to this man 3 times.
This one individual person, this
Yes, the
person
one
who's up
I'm
here.
married to now. The one I'm married to now. 3 times. Been engaged to this man 3 times. Yes, I said yes all 3 times. But who had to grow more?
That's a collective.
He did, but I also did. He had to grow more though.
You had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Mm,
I was slow.
I'm done. I'm
It's
done.
all right, baby.
Show is over. But
He'll tell
in
you.
in that vein, I think that's one of the things that as single people, as we approach the thought of marriage, that there really is some deep soul searching that an individual has to do, as well as understanding that there is a level of maturity that comes along with that. That you're giving up the eyes for we and for us, you're giving up the I for the team. And those aspects. And I think sometimes because of I call it the Disney syndrome, where we've watched so many movies that have given us the happily ever after, that's given us the shining, prince on the white horse that's come to rescue us in our damsel in distress singleness. That when it doesn't happen that way, or it takes longer for it to happen that way, that we get discouraged, that we think that, oh, marriage is trash, and I'm just gonna be, like, man gonna pay all my bills, and he gonna flew me out places, and all these types of things. And marriage really does take work, and it does take compromise, and it does take communication, and it does take moments where you really have to examine who you are in order to be able to handle and deal with another person who's just as imperfect as you,
Right.
and find the way to mature together in that relationship. And I think a lot of the examples that you ladies gave as wives, with the tenure that you've had in your marriages, that you've given a lot of information that shows just that the role of a wife really is to be a partner, to pivot in moments where you have to wear a different hat, and you have to not necessarily be a different person, but you're going to mature to be a different person than you were when you first got married, that you were in the middle of your marriage, that you're going to be towards the end when Jesus come, kind of a situation.
Tyler
So
Perry. Right.
Yeah.
You got that
I love
And
the
all
Tyler Perrys. I'm
and
sorry.
all
I'm a
Tyler Perry
Tyler Perry
fantasies are
fan.
not good.
right, right,
Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfree, Disney, who else? Warner Brothers, whoever. The
right.
the, the relationship fantasy. I mean, like one of my
Yes, Hallmark.
favorite.
I mean, I love Hallmark. If you
Yeah,
ever
Hallmark
watch the
is do it to you every time.
right, but even with that, real quick, your perspective on life factors in too.
Yes.
So even going through my divorce, my my perspective on marriage never changed. It's a sanctity that is designed by God. And for me, even though challenges, I just put coming from challenges, you know, people like, well, you're not negative. No, because where he was and where I was, he was in different places. It's okay. It doesn't change marriage. It doesn't change marriage. We we pollute marriage. The actual design of it, it's not polluted because we go through all the crazy stuff. It's us as man, we pollute it
Mm-hmm.
with our foolishness, with our delusions of grandeur, and lottie dottie and everybody because we don't want to subjugate ourselves.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, ladies, thank you so very much for joining me for this conversation. I really do appreciate all the transparency, all the examples that you were able to give, not just to me, but to those that have viewed the entire time, as well as those who will watch on a rewatch. And there's one more question that I have to ask, and I ask all of my guests this question because my podcast is called Coffee and Tea. So I want to know, which team are you? Are you team coffee or are you team tea? And what is your go to drink for that team?
Wow.
I
Okay.
know.
So, oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm kind of team both. Okay.
Okay.
No judgment, please. No judgment. Now, with coffee, I like a mocha latte, and I like it like cold, cold with literally the whipped cream and the caramel. Yes. And if I don't have the caramel, then I get the chocolate. Yes. And then my tea. Oh my gosh, my tea. I love like a good herbal tea. So like lemon ginger
Oh, that's
or
a good one.
caramel. Listen, caramel. Yeah, anything. Huh? I'm sorry. She said I'm sorry. She said I'm sorry. Like I'm sorry. I apologize, everybody. I got distracted. But a good herbal tea, add some like honey and lemon to it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Herbal teas are the best. Viva.
You had mine before, but
I know, but you on a different show. So
okay. I'm like myself, not with the same kind, but I can do both. I love my Turkey Hill.
yeah, Turkey Hill is some good stuff. I
I,
give you
I
that.
I love my Turkey Hill, believe me, and that's thanks to my husband. Let me put that out there before he says something.
I turned you on the turkey.
Let me say that before he says something.
That's what you
Thanks to my husband, I love my Turkey Hill,
Hilarious.
but I also like my coffee. My husband looks at me weird because every Sunday morning we will go to Wawa. We will go to Wawa's and I will get a frozen cookies and cream,
Oh,
coffee.
for real. Oh,
Yes,
wait,
I
wait,
will
we got
go
it.
to
Sorry.
I will go to Wawa's and get a frozen
Mm.
cookies and cream coffee.
Oh, that sounds
I
good.
love it. He
Judgment.
thinks I'm weird because it's cold. But as I tell him, my room when I lived with my grandparents was in the basement, so my body is used to cold. And
I
like
can't
he
with
said,
people.
he's weird. I married him, so what does that make me?
Y'all are both weird at
Weird.
the end of the day. So, you know,
Too
it
weird.
is two weird people. You weird and he crazy. It's just that's how it is.
You went to school with him.
Hey, I did, but then we graduated and that was it. You got him for life. So
For life.
Okay. Okay, I got him for life.
yeah.
And
But
I,
ladies,
And
thank
when
you.
he get look, and when he gets on my nerves, sometimes I will go to my sister's house
no.
because my sister lived right across the street from me.
Look at that.
So I will go to my sister's house.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
have. That's why she's shaking her head.
Mhm. Check on them.
I'm like,
Hilarious.
get him,
Yeah.
get him.
That's an after show conversation. So anyway, thank you guys so much for being a part of the show. Those of you that are out there in social media land, thank you so much for supporting the Coffee and Tea podcast. This is the next to last show for our season. So my season finale is going to be on the 22nd. So right before your Thanksgiving plans. We're going a little risque with the season finale and having coffee and tea after dark. So that show will be a little later in the evening, not like midnight or anything, but it may be 8 or 9 o'clock, depending on who comes on. But we're going to be talking about all the risque types of things. So we're going to be having conversations about sex, about fetishes, about the thing that we talk about in marriage all the time, where it says that the bed is undefiled and how far does that undefilement go, as well as some other things, polyamory and the like. So join us on that finale show. Uh, that's where we're going for that.
Communication.
Yes, come here.
Communication is key.
Be quiet over there.
Talk to you
Uh,
after the show.
you talk to me
I
after the
will
show.
talk to you after the show.
Okay. But good night, everybody. Again, thanks so much. Please like, subscribe, and share. Go to our Facebook page, leave a review, leave a comment. Let me know how much you're enjoying the show. Those comments, those likes, those shares will help me to determine whether or not the show will come back for a season 2. So if you enjoy the show, and would like to see it come back again in 2025, please, please, please let us know how much you are enjoying the topics. If there's a topic that you would like to see, please go ahead and drop that in the comments or send us a Facebook message as well. We'd love to give you the topics that you want to see and want to see discussed. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us there. Viva, Tiffany, thank you so very much again for being
Thank you.
my guest this evening. I really, really do appreciate you both. And with that being said, we are out of here, guys. Tomorrow is Saturday. It's supposed to be a beautiful day. So get out there, make healthy choices, build good relationships, and we'll see you next time.